Reimagine Roofing was started 5 years ago because I wanted to help bring some professionalism to the roofing space. I came from the solar industry before and I just wasn't happy with the professionalism and the sharpness. Coming from the Marine Corps, I really found it important to have professionalism in everything I do, and so that's why I started Reimagine Roofing.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast. I'm going to tease it a little bit for the end. You guys got to listen to the end. You're going to learn how to, from a man, Kody Landals from the Pitch Pro movement, fellow coach of mine. He is selling millions of dollars virtually. So I'm just going to preface it with that. But first, let's get to know Kody a little bit. Kody Landals, Reimagine Roofing, Pitch Pro movement coach. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing amazing, having an amazing start to the new year. How about you?
I'm great, man. This is, going into 2024 strong. Lots of cool stuff going on. We got a good chance to hang out together back in October at the Pitch Pro movement, and definitely wanted to have you on here because you're doing so many cool things. Let's talk first. How'd you get into the roofing and solar industry?
Yeah, so I started off in the Marine Corps. Did about 4.5 years in the Marine Corps. I was working in the SATCOM fields. Was infantry, and one of the things I worked on was forward deployed satellite communication that was powered by solar. So it kind of piqued my interest into solar. I got exposed to solar, pretty early in my life, and then I got out of the Marine Corps, went to ASU. And got a degree in sustainability. So I got a bachelor's degree in studying solar. And then I wanted to kind of decide what I was going to do with that degree. I wasn't really sure. I knew I was good at sales, and I knew I was good at that I want to do something for the environment. And so I stumbled across this job that was, selling solar door to door. And I was like, well, that's, personal sustainability. You'd have your personal impact. I could sell, and, obviously I could probably make some pretty good money on it. So I got into that, started working my way up, building sales teams, opening offices across the Southwest. And I kept running into a consistent problem. You can't put solar on a bad roof. And so a lot of times we were having to replace roofs in preparation for going solar. Well, when you're operating in 5-6 locations and you're using, 5, 6, 8 roofers, I mean, we're in the roofing industry. I'm sure you guys can imagine, kind of what my experience was like. And it all came to a head. There was a job going on in El Paso, and solar was supposed to be installed the next day. The crew called me. The job was 70, 80% done. And they said, hey, I need you to Venmo me the entire balance for the work, or we're not finishing. I was just kind of like, okay, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be, and so I wanted to reimagine the roofing industry. That's why I named the company Reimagine Roofing. And so I created a roofing company that was dedicated to the solar industry. And so that was our first couple years. Really the first 2 years, we only did roofs for solar partners in preparation for solar install. And so that's kind of how I got into the roofing. And then it's evolved from there to where now we do a lot of direct to consumer. A lot of, commercial, metal, and just kind of really diversified now. But that is how I first got into the roofing industry.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one of the things that you presented on in some of the conversations that we have, man, I think that you've had extremely fast growth. And I think that with extremely fast growth, there needs to be a high level of leadership in that, to make it right. And so I wanted to talk to you to start the conversation a little bit about your thoughts on leadership and in as a business owner.
Yeah, definitely. And I would definitely say that the biggest challenge, when you're scaling that fast, is ensuring quality. And really where I got a lot of my leadership theory is in the Marine Corps. And one of the big things in the Marine Corps that they really are huge in is small unit leadership. So anywhere in the Marine Corps, no leader is in charge of more than 4 people at any given time. So you'd have 4 people in a fire team, and then you have a fire team leader in charge of those people, and then you have 4 fire teams make up a squad, and so you have a squad leader, but your squad leader is only in charge of your 4 fire team leaders, which are in charge of the members, and then the squad rolls up to the platoon, and so forth and so on. But even at the highest level, when you go up to the regimental or the division level, the regimental commander's only in charge of 4 battalion commanders, which is in charge of 4 company commanders, and so forth and so on. And the idea behind that is once you get over more than 4 people, you can't be intimately involved with their emotional well-being, and you can't truly know when something's off. But if you're only ever in charge of 4 people, when one of your 4 people come in and they're a little bit under the weather, or they're a little bit sad for that day, or they're just that 2% off, you're going to know instantly. You're going to be like, hey, Jim, what's wrong? What's going on? Oh man, I just broke up with my girlfriend. I got in a fight with my wife. I'm just a little down today. And that allows you to make different decisions when you know your team that intimately, versus being in charge of 1,000 people, or even 20 people. Once you get to 20 people, you won't always notice that first 2% difference.
Definitely. Like I see that a lot. Like it's a if you have if you're managing too many people, that one sales manager with 20 reps, there's no way that they can be successful. You're going to have your, but what you said, like in that individual relationship, right? You have to really be able to know. So how have you taken that practically into your org chart?
Yeah, we brought it into the org chart by ensuring that each person, we have many divisions, and then also on a regional level as well. Every region that we're in has a leader that is in charge of that region with a large amount of autonomy. With a comp plan that also reflects them being, basically a small business owner, because that's essentially what they are. And that is one of the largest keys to the success we've had, is that I treat my leaders like small business owners and give them that ability to be a small business owner in my larger business, because it just changes the way you think, it changes the way you act, and it changes the way you lead. And it makes a massive difference from what I've seen.
How do you? This is always a challenge to me, and I think in that you want people to be entrepreneurial or intrapreneurial, right, within your business.
Yep.
How have you laid it out where you can make them feel that way, but not want to go and start their own company? What are some of the things that you've done there?
Yeah, I think it just comes in being strategic with how you design their responsibilities. So for a lot of it, for example, they may not have to be responsible for lead generation. So we would have lead generation coming from a central location. Our communication all comes from a central location. So every single welcome call in my business comes from our Phoenix corporate office, even if we're doing a roof in New Jersey. So what it does is it allows them to go and just grow their business and not have to worry as much about running the business. Obviously, they still have to run it. They got to build good roofs. We got to have customer relations. We got to still have boots on the ground. But a lot of the basic admin stuff, if I can take that off your plate, that's very attractive. I mean, we all love to sell. We all love to build roofs. Who loves, doing job costing? That's not right. Many of us, right? So if I can take that off your plate while still teaching you how to improve the profitability, and, then you're just looking at numbers. You're not having to calculate the numbers. Then you're just ensuring that the call was made, not having to make the call. And so that allows you to grow your business, which then grows your income, but also to look at it and be like, do I really want to go out there and have to do all this other stuff? It seems like a hassle where I can just continue to grow inside of Reimagine.
One of the things that makes me think of is that kind of the analogy or the thought of your dollar per hour, right? Like how much is that person worth per hour for that task? Like, should your regional manager, who is a high dollar per hour type of individual in your business, be doing low dollar per hour tasks? Have you kind of thought about that when you structure it? I don't know, man. I'm just like that's what it made 100%. It made me think of
100%. That's why I'm laughing, because I literally had that exact conversation with one of my division heads this morning. It's like, hey man, You are a division head. I need you to be doing things that only the division head could do. I don't need you
Mm,
towing equipment because you're trying to help out. Like one of the things I tell the team a lot is that if you go out and dig a hole for 16 hours a day, that's hard work. But that doesn't help the business. Just because you're working hard doesn't
mm,
mean you're helping the business. And that's tough for sometimes, even for myself. I have to remind myself sometimes. I'll be in the weeds and I'm out here quoting a $7,000 roof because they called in at 7 o'clock at night, and I'm trying to just help the business out. But I use that analogy, and for a lot of people, it puts the light bulb on. You could go dig a hole for 16 hours, your hands would hurt. You'd like, man, I worked really hard today, and you did nothing for us, on the larger scale of the business.
yeah. How do you break that down? How do you look at that? How do you frame that as a business owner? Like, what are those like high dollar tasks, the mid dollar? You know what I mean? Like, how have you broken that down in your mind?
For me, it comes kind of to creation. Like if you have to be creative or novel or
Mm,
innovative, that's going to be high level. If I can, I wrote on my board to start the year, duplicate myself. And I had all of my division heads also write that on their board. If there's something that you can, outline step by step of how you do it, then that no longer becomes a high level task, because you don't have to think, you don't have to create, you don't have to, problem solve. And so that needs to be, moved down kind of the chain of command,
yep.
because now it's systemized. And that is, that's how I kind of break it down when we have to innovate, or we have to create a new process or a new system or solve a new problem. That's going to require thinking outside the box. And that's where I put my kind of levels of leadership on, of making sure that they're doing the high value tasks.
Yeah. High value tasks. So, um, what other like, thoughts do you have? Like, you have your Marine Corps principles, the four, kind of groups of four. No one reports. No one has more than four direct reports. High level business decisions. I mean, I don't know. Just to put it in context, I don't know where you guys are now, but I mean, you went from like 0 to 2 million a month, like really, really fast. I don't know what you guys are doing now, but like, like to me, there's a lot of like, there's more to it. What are you thinking of? What's the more to it in that leadership that you're thinking about in there?
Yeah, the biggest leadership kind of idea that's ever resonated with me is from John C. Maxwell, the
Mm,
four levels of leadership. He says the first level of leadership is that you're going to do it because you have to. I outrank you, or I'm your boss. The second level of leadership is you're going to listen to me because I'm really good at it. So I may be the top sales rep, and you're going to listen to me because, oh, he's the top sales rep. So if I listen to him, he probably knows. The third level of leadership is once I become a teacher. So if I teach you something, if I teach you how to sell, if I teach you how to install a standing seam metal roof, you're going to be forever looking at me as a leader because I've taught you something that now you can go out and earn more money, or you can go out and do it. And so that's the third level of leadership. And then the fourth level that I challenge all my leaders to, and I challenge myself to, is following somebody because of what they embody or who they are.
mm,
And you look up to them as more than just your profession of, are they the first person into the office? Are they, talking about physical fitness and being physical fit? Are they, talking about nutrition and eating nutrition as well? Are they doing what they say they're doing? And once people start looking to you as a leader because of what you embody, that's when you are truly at the pinnacle of leadership. And that's when you can really help people begin changing their lives. And that's what we try to do here. Is we one of the things I tell when people come into the company is, if you're looking for a job, this isn't the place for you. If you're looking for an
mm.
opportunity, this is the place for you, because this is what we're doing. Is it's so much more than just a job, because we have leaders that are embodying real personal development and really changing lives.
Yeah. How that like, how do you bring someone through those levels? How, because you're going to bring people in that are at a higher level that have the ability to execute on that, but are you also saying, man, you could start here, because you said the opportunity, right? Like, you could start here, and our goal is to bring you to here. What's your thoughts on bringing someone from, they could do a task, or they maybe, they're doing something because they're being told to do it, to
Mhm.
making those decisions, to being able to be a leader that other people want to follow?
Yeah, it really just. Well, I mean, we do leadership training. We have a book of the month every month, so that's something that's really big in the company. One of the other things that I do is I reserve an hour a week for anybody in the company if they want one-on-one training. We
Mm,
have over 50 employees now, I think, but I always have an hour in two 30-minute blocks. That if anybody wants, relationship advice, fitness advice, leadership training, sales training, anything you want in the world, I always have that hour open. And then we have scheduled leadership trainings throughout the week and other trainings. But the biggest thing is also teaching people just how to think differently. And
mm,
one of the big aspects within my company that we always talk about is even on day one, you never should bring just a question. So a good example, let's say you're a sales guy and you want, this person's going to buy a roof and they have a second home and they're like, hey, this first roof's 20 grand, this other roof's 20 grand. There's two ways to come to your sales manager and ask if you can do a discount. The first one is, hey, I got these two roofs. They're both 20,000. How much can I discount it if he does both of them?
mm.
That's one way. Or you can say, hey, I got a $20,000 roof, $20,000 roof. He wants to package them together. Can I give a $1,500 discount? And then I might say, no, that's too much, do 1,000. Or no, then I'd give a $2,000 discount. But if you try to come up with a solution first, and whether it's sales or production, even if it's, this homeowner's upset, I think we should maybe get them a $200 gift card versus this homeowner's upset. What should we do? That forces you to start thinking through your ideas, and then you just refine your ideas, but you've learned how to think instead of just every time, because the brain's, it's a muscle, it's reps. It's just like going to the gym, it's reps. And so if every time you have a problem, it's just call my supervisor, that's what you default to. But if every time you have a problem, it's think through it and then present a solution, takes pressure off the supervisor and starts making you more of a problem solver.
I have a friend, Nick Kramer. He has he's a Facebook or a Google Ads expert that he has a Google Ads agency that he does the same thing. And it's like, I started doing it too. And it's like, yeah, bring me, like, don't come with a question, come with a couple of options of, hey, I thought through it. I have this option or this option. Which way do you think we should go here? Right. Like that level that I think that to me in training people is extremely impactful because people never like it doesn't soak in if they have Google to go to all the time, right? You're the Google of your business, right? That's just
Yep,
search for, in Kody's office, right? Like,
exactly.
right? Like search for answer by calling Kody, right? Like if you have that in your business. So that's a big aha moment, I think, for people listening. Like, if you do this, set this up with your team. No one gets to ask you a question.
Yep,
Your team
100%.
is only allowed to present you solutions.
Yep,
You get to then coach them on which solution may be better, and you may be able to bring up other ideas that they hadn't thought of.
yep.
But if they're just bringing you a question and you're answering it, man, we don't learn that way.
Yep. And the other thing too is if you kind of think about it, if they bring you that solution and it's 90% right, then all we got to do is coach that last 10%. And so when I give you that little bit of coaching, you're going to retain 10%, right? But if you bring me just a question and I tell you the whole thought process and I tell you 100%, that's a lot to try to retain. And then
Yeah.
the next time you're like, well, I only remember 60% of what he told me. So I'm just going to ask the question again because I'm not confident versus, you already had 90% figured out. I only gave you the last 10% or as just a little course correction. And then you go, oh, now I know why that course correction next time, then I'll be able to just do it. And so
Yeah.
it really helps people level up a lot quicker.
Another thing I think we forget about as entrepreneurs or business owners or as high level managers is that it took us a lot of failures to get to the knowledge level that we have, right? Like it took a lot, man. And like all of those doors you knocked, like all of the jobs that you've been on, every roof that you've inspected, like there's so much data that we just overlook.
Yeah.
You're a big fitness guy, right? Like there's like the way that you do an exercise or a specific lift or something, the you're not going to do it perfect. But over time, you're like, now you go in the gym and you're doing your cleans and you're doing your stuff, and it's just like your form is like you never learned it. But there was a time when you learned it. I talk to my kids about this all the time. Like, you didn't know how to walk out at a point in time in your life. You understand that, right? Like, you didn't know how to walk. Like, we have, like, there's this path. There's a lot of
Yeah.
learning that goes on, right? Like, so it's this, we, and we need that grace to our team, maybe, right? Sometimes we need that grace to our team that they haven't went through all of those losses, right? All of the lessons along the way. But we can help them create a processing system, maybe, right? Maybe that's a good way to put it. It's like we're installing a processing system in them. So that
And I
kind of
think if
leads
you
me.
put
Yeah, go
maybe
for
some
it.
bumpers up too, it could that's what we
Mm,
found success with is, let's say you're a project manager, maybe your
yeah,
first 60 days on the job, you're allowed to do up to $250 gift card without or with asking for permission after the fact. So go
yeah.
solve the problem, make the homeowner happy. And then it's, the first time there's one nail in the yard and they go get a $250 gift card and get to the homeowner. I'm like, hey, there's only one nail in the yard. You could have just said, I'm sorry, and done an extra cleanup. You didn't have to get the gift card, but we're only out $250, and at least you have the confidence to make that decision. And then they've been here
Mm,
6 months. Now you get a $500 credit limit. And so now you can go get a $500 gift card if we really mess up, or whatever it is. Those are just kind of
got it.
examples, but you give them those little bumpers that they can come out and make a decision. And if they make the wrong decision, great, we're only out a couple $100, but at least you're in the mindset of making decisions. Because a lot of people, when they come from other employers, they just ask you to be an employee, like just do exactly what you say.
Yeah.
Don't, if I tell you to type the letter A, write the letter A. Don't think outside that box. And that's where we've been different, and that's what has, I think, helped us scale and helped us maintain that quality as we scaled, because people don't have that in the box mindset within the company.
Yeah, let's talk about that because, again, like, your growth was fast. And I know a lot of business owners are like, man, things are going to fall apart. Like, the wheels are going to fall off if we move that fast. There's no way how do we build a quality roof? How do we have a great customer experience at this level of aggressive scaling? How have you maintained that through scaling, or maybe talk a little bit about, maybe about your journey from in this, of how you've scaled, what to fit, like you said, close to 50 employees now. I don't know what your top line is, but, like, you guys are crushing it. So, and I mean, not that it's overnight success. It's been some years, but it's like you've put in the work, but it's like, man, how have you maintained everything as you've scaled?
Yeah, so our scaling journey was a little bit different than probably maybe any other roofing company
Yeah.
because of the model originally.
Yep.
So the original model was we were working with probably 7 or 8 of the 10 largest solar companies. We started in Arizona, and then one of our partners said, "Hey, will you go to Nevada for us? We have tons of roofs in Vegas, and we don't have a good roofer." And we said, "Okay, how many roofs you got?" "Oh, we got 15 roofs a month out there." "Sure, we'll be out there soon. Get our licenses in place." And
Yep.
they're like, "Hey, can you go to California?" And so we were kind of staying, and then we went to New Mexico. We were kind of staying on the West Coast, and then either the second or third largest East Coast installer kind of heard our name and approached us and said, "Hey, hear what you guys are doing. We really want to jump on board, and we want you guys to come build roofs for us on the East Coast." And so and that's why we were able to kind of scale like that. And focus on quality, because we had the benefit of, I didn't have to drive sales. I didn't have to. We didn't
Mm,
have leads.
yep.
These companies, what I would do is I would go teach the solar sales rep who was selling solar, if it's how to identify a bad roof. And if it's a bad roof, then let's say it's a 20-year-old shingle roof, we would provide them a quote, and then the homeowner would buy the solar and the roof together. That solar company would then have us do the roof. So when you don't have to worry about sales, you don't have to worry about marketing. It allowed me to focus 100% on quality. And so
Mm,
if I was doing a traditional scale, I wouldn't have been able to scale as fast. But I think even though, because what we're doing now is now we're a much more traditional roofing company because the solar industry has had a big pullback. We identified it, back in October. So going on about 13, 14 months now that raising interest rates, just kind of the climate, we had to protect our business. And so we went from doing 90% of our revenue from solar partners in last year, which was, first year we went from 5 million to 15 million in our second year. So pretty rapid growth there. Continuous month over month and year over year growth. To then, this year, coming into this year, we had to pivot our whole model. And this year we're now doing 90% of our revenue is just direct to consumer. Without sacrificing any of our revenue numbers. We'll do over 25 million this year. And probably in the middle of summer, we'll be doing 3 million top line, with some pretty ambitious goals. So, that journey, our scaling was unique in the sense, that, when we opened a new market in New Jersey, it was because our partner said, hey, there's 20 roofs a month out there. Can you go out there? I think it would be possible with other, kind of B2B relationships. You could do something similar, but that allowed me to be 100% focused on customer experience.
Mm.
And then I had developed the customer experience, systemized it. And now this year I can drive sales and drive revenue because we have systemized and standardized the customer experience across all of our locations.
So let's start with quality. How are you, because you're in multiple, how many states are you in now?
Depending on how you count, like the Northeast, like we service Delaware, but we're not,
Got it.
so
Yeah.
over 10, like maybe like 15 to, depending on how you count up that Northeast.
That's a large geographic area, right?
Yes.
And, man, there's, as business, like there's that touch it, feel it, be able to drive up to it, make sure that everything is being done right? Like, how do you do that? Like, how, for 10 states from the, and for people that don't know, I mean, most of it is the team in the Arizona office, right? Is the support there, and then you have a couple of people in each of the regions in those states, kind of doing that day-to-day stuff. So let's talk through that. How are you ensuring quality at scale?
Yeah. So, couple different things. One, anytime we went to open a new market, I told my partners, even when they were, saying, hey, I need it as soon as possible, I told them I would not open a market until I had the right general manager there. So that was the key for me, is I needed a linchpin, that I needed like someone that I could trust 100%, and they take ownership of that market. And then, put in a series of checks and balances, leveraging technology like Company Cam, obviously using a CRM, and checking in updates, and doing things like closeout calls, checking in with customers at the end of the job and seeing what the experience was. You'll find the canaries in the coal mine. It's what I call public accountability. If we're all asking the same questions, well, as long as everybody's telling the truth, it's great. But if 4 people are all asking the homeowner, hey, how'd everything go? And only 3 people are here and it went bad. And the one guy on the ground saying, no, homeowner was happy. She baked me an apple pie. Obviously that's, not the case. Exactly. So that, it's trust, but verify. That's a key term, is that I trust my general managers, the boots on the ground to make the right decisions. But I'm going to verify as well through, photos, and what we do is we have both a project manager and a virtual project manager for every job. So somebody in Phoenix will be the virtual project manager, and they'll manage, 15, 20 jobs at a time. And their job consists of just sending text messages each day saying, day 2 of the build, we're 50% done, looking great. And you'll get things back. Yeah, everything's going smooth, but the crew showed up an hour and a half late today. No big deal. You guys have been awesome. Okay, so why'd the crew show up an hour and a half late? Is this a systemic problem? Was it just a flat tire? So you start getting that little bit of feedback. And if you're constantly checking in, just like if you're constantly checking in with your team members, your employees, you'll catch it before it becomes a massive problem, because you'll start just seeing the stuff on the margins. Like, nobody just goes from being awesome to not awesome overnight. It's usually kind of a progression of complacency, that they just get a little bit lazier, a little bit sloppier, a little bit whatever. And so if you have those, check-ins, that trust but verify, on multiple stages, and clear expectations, that's the other thing is, part of the comp plan, part of the requirements for my general managers are things like 5-star reviews, no complaints, or, not no complaints. Obviously, you're
Yeah.
always going to have some,
Yeah.
but addressing them in a timely manner. And it's not just, I don't care if you do $500,000 in a month, if 250,000 of that are angry and they're sacrificing, the brand. So I think it's either I know Charlie Munger that says, show me the incentive and I'll show you the outcome.
Mm, yeah.
And so if your incentive package for your leaders is not tied to the quality of outcome, it's just tied to revenue or profitability, that's all they drive.
Yeah.
And then they'll sacrifice quality of install for revenue. Hey, we got to hit our numbers this month. Let's go build 10 roofs this week, even though we only have capacity for 8. And then you go pick up a random crew and then they do a bad install, and we've all been there before. So it's incentivizing the right things and making sure that they understand what's the primary focus and what's most important at the highest level.
That's awesome. I think there's so much left on the table in closeout calls. There are actually businesses that are built on a closeout call. So there's a service out there that people know about that, like, they built their whole business on calling your homeowners after the job is closed and asking a series of questions and then asking for a Google review. Like, that's a whole business, like multi-million-dollar business that just does that for contractors, right? Like, it's crazy. But I bet you listening don't do it. Right? Like,
and on that point, I mean, the biggest key to us being able to make this pivot from that one, I mean, to pivot a $15-20 million a year company in a year and not sacrifice revenue, because I changed my entire revenue funnel. The
yeah.
only way I was able to do that is because I had built up the brand equity over those first 2.5 years. When we made that pivot, I had over 300 5-star reviews. So when I needed to go to the public and say, hey, I'm ready to start selling roofs directly to you, I had the brand proof, the social proof, the good marketing, the good media, the good reviews to instantly turn that switch on, and people wanted to buy roofs from us. And we had built it up because people were buying roofs from us through a third person. We weren't selling these roofs originally. It was some solar guy telling the homeowner, hey, I use Reimagine Roofing. Look, they're really awesome. Look at their YouTube channel. Look at their reviews. So I had to build this whole business of selling ourselves without even being able to tell our own story, all through digital media. And so then when I made that pivot to being a direct consumer company, that was the key that unlocked it all. That's the secret sauce, is the brand equity, and it lives in the digital space in this day and age.
Yeah.
And I know I'm preaching to the choir, as the roof marketer. I'm sure this is music to you.
Man, but this is it. Like, they're one of the most the trait that measures success in people most is self-awareness. Right? Like, if you look at all successful CEOs, you look at successful business owners, you look at the more successful a person is, the more self-aware they are. And I'm kind of bringing this back to this. Why would someone hire you? Right? Like, you have to ask that question and be honest with yourself. You can't say, because I'm the best roofer. Right? If you
Great, says that.
Great.
Yep.
Prove it. Right?
Yep.
Like, and how do you prove that in a digital age? Well, you prove it through reviews on Google, you know what I mean? You prove it through video content. You prove it through all of these experiences that you're creating for other people. The challenge is when you're new, right?
Yep.
Like, think about it. Think about this. If you go to a gym and you're going to hire a trainer, and you walk in and there's a trainer that's out of shape, and you're like, this is crazy. You're out of shape. Like, how long have you been doing this? And they're like, well, it just started 3 days ago. So how long have you been working out? Well, a week and a half, right? Like, are you going to trust that person to be your personal trainer? No. You walk into the gym and there's this super fit person, And they like, you talk to them and you're like, man, this is like, yeah, I've been training people for 15 years, and like, there's this story of that now it's like, yeah, I want that person. I want to work with that person, not that person. So you, in that self-reflection, you need to be looking at, why would someone hire you? What you did very well, and I think a lot of sometimes I've seen this leveraged in a few different ways. To me, it sounds like you leverage those kind of referral relationships to build your brand equity. There's too many, like, I know another company that leveraged repair work to build that brand equity. Like, they would pretty much do repair work for free. No, sorry, not for free, for a review,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah, let me just pop up here and do some, like, this cactus flashing, and we're good. Just leave me a Google review, right? Like, I don't, no big deal. Hey, let's just do this real quick. I could do this real quick, and just, hey, I'll take care of it. Just leave me a Google review. I know of a company that built up, 150, 200 reviews, just with that strategy. But what it does down the road, and what it did when you went direct to consumer then, is when they look you up online, and they will, it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Reimagine Roofing, man. Yeah, 300 something 5-star reviews. You got content on YouTube. You got all this. You have all of the things that invoke trust in people.
Yep.
So if you're not self-aware in that, if you're like, well, people should hire me because I'm good,
Mm-hmm.
prove it.
Yep.
like, right? Like,
Yep.
so
And if
you
you're only
you
doing 50 roofs a year, you should be getting 50 reviews, like, because
50
you're intimately
reviews.
involved. Yep, that's when it was like when I started this business, it was just two of us, just me and a
Yeah,
production manager. So I was on every single job. When that job done, I said, "Hey, I'm trying to build my business. It would mean the world to me. I'm standing right here. Can you leave me a review? Hey, leave me a review." Like, 100% review rate. So I only did 50 jobs and I got 50 reviews. Well, you look at some of your competitors, there's guys that are doing 500 jobs a year with only 50 reviews.
yeah,
So you instantly look as like a mid-sized company with 50 reviews. You do that 2 years in a row, now you're at 100. Now people think you might be a big boy, and you're still only doing 50 roofs a year.
that's
And
right.
it just blows me away. I look at some of my competitors, and they've been in business 30 years, and they got and they do similar revenue numbers to me, and they have 68 reviews or 82 reviews, and it's
That's
just
right.
like, man, you guys could be, you let me catch you, and now you've let me surpass you. And it's not all about reviews, but reviews play a major role. And if you think they don't, you're living in the past.
And you're not self-aware, right? It's, how do you
Yep.
search? Because I promise
Exactly.
you that you look
Yep.
at reviews. Like, there's
Yep.
I it's very, like, you are in the minority if you are not looking at reviews before you're making a buying decision, right? Like,
Yep.
before you're
Yep.
making a phone call to someone, before you're choosing a restaurant to go to, before you're choosing a product to buy on Amazon, right? Like, you that's it's all built on this, on that social proof, right? And that social proof is there. So if you have an opportunity to leverage the kind of, to my, what I was thinking about with you, is you did a great job of leveraging what you had in front of you to what
Mhm.
you will have in the future in with that. So that's awesome, man. How else are you keeping like, I mean, 10 states, managers, all, project managers doing different things, different crews. How are you creating, because I think that there's another piece of it. It's not just consistency and quality, it's consistency and customer experience that also plays into that. How do you scale in that regard? How are you maintaining or how have you built your customer experience, and how do you maintain that as you enter new markets, or across the markets that you're in?
Yeah, I think it's really about ensuring that you have systems in place, ensuring that it's the same job start process in California as it is in New Jersey. And for us, the virtual project manager really plays a huge role in this,
Hmm.
because and we pre-sell the experience, and that would be the other thing I would say, regardless of what kind of company you are. pre-sell the experience. So we're a very modern company. We use a lot of technology. And so, when they first call in, we say, hey, this is the modern way to roof. Part of what people love working about us is we leverage technology. If you're just, Kody's Roofing and you're a one-man band, I would take the call and say, what people love about us is they get to work with Kody. I'm the owner. You get these big corporate companies, the CEOs never even out on the job site. Tell your story, whatever that story is, lean into it. But for us, it's that virtual project manager, and we let the homeowner know that that's going to be your main point of contact. You'll have the boots on the ground if you have any questions, but they build up some real great relationships, with those customers through text. And in this day and age, people love to text way more than a phone call, to be able to see their roof built, because they get a company cam link every day. Of it, they'll see tear off, then they'll get the underlayment photo, and then they'll get the final photo if it's a 3-day job or whatever it is. But we tell them part of the sales process that what people love working about us is you'll be able to see your roof being built in real time, whether you're at work or sitting on your couch. So you don't even have to go out there and try to watch the crew. You'll be able to watch it from the air conditioning or the heat of your house. So we've pre-sold the experience. And so when they get those links, the project manager has a role to play, but his role is more in the crew, managing the crew. He still says hi. He still says, does his thing. But we've now made it that they feel that company cam link, it makes them feel comfortable. And so now the crew can just do their work, because there's nothing worse. I mean, we've had it where someone puts a lawn chair in their front yard and they just sit there. Oh, why is that guy throwing something off the roof? Your guys showed up from lunch 5 minutes late, and it's just like, that's just what they think they should do as a good homeowner. And so if you can kind of coach your homeowners too on, hey, look, you're going to be able to watch it. It's going to be like you're up there with us. And then they don't come back and, and kind of overmanage the project. But we just set the stage of what their experience is going to be. And in life, it's all about expectations. Yeah. If I tell you I'm going to give you $10 for free and I give you 5, you're mad. If I don't tell you anything and I give you $5, you're happy. It's all about expectations. So set your proper expectations. And my favorite thing I tell everybody in the company is just do what we say we're going to do. That's all you got to do. And don't overpromise. Just say what you're going to do and do it.
It's an overarching theme, right? This will probably be like episode 183 or 185 or something like that when it comes out. It's an overarching theme of successful contractors that I talk to. It's that it's do a good job for customers. Like, do what you say, take care of them. Something happens, fix it, move on, do a good job. Just do a good job. It's kind of at its core, it's very simple, right? Like, there's a lot of moving pieces in doing a good job. There's a lot of moving pieces in customer experience. One thing I like about what you said, like with the company cam links and the person that's dedicated that customer communication, people on the listen to the podcast a lot hear me say this all the time, but it's like, if your customer is wondering, you're losing. Like, your trust is you're losing trust. If your customer is wondering about anything, if they're wondering why you're doing that, you're losing. If they're wondering when someone's going to be here, you're losing. If anytime they're wondering, you're losing. So, having that person that's dedicated to that customer communication, they're never wondering. How do you deal with like customer, because that's customer experience, but is that person in charge of like customer service also with that homeowner? Like, if a homeowner has a question, they know exactly who to reach out to and how to reach out to them, and how is that framed?
Yeah. So, we kind of they're your first line of defense. Like, so if anything comes up, shoot them a text, because we just say, hey, they're always in front of the computer. They're an office worker. They can respond quicker. My project manager, he's driving. We don't allow our guys to text and drive. It's not safe. They might be managing 3 or 4 projects. And so that's your first line of defense. And also, that person is the person sending or doing the welcome call, and they build up rapport. So once we have rapport, like, suddenly then there's things are a lot more easier to discuss, right? It's like, hey, you guys are really awesome, but this really sucked. Like, hey, it's not like, if you have no rapport, then it's like, oh, what the, and so it allows us to address those issues with somebody that they have rapport with. And then the project manager, there's more the subject matter expert. if
Mm.
we have to replace decking, okay, that's a hard conversation, right?
Yep.
So we're going to have both the project manager and the virtual project manager explain it to the homeowner because it might resonate differently. The
Yeah.
project manager is a little bit more of a construction guy. He's going to show some photos on his tablet and explain it's not a nailable surface. It's this, it's rotted, it's skip sheathing or whatever it is. He's going to maybe explain code, explain it just, I have to do this.
Yep.
The virtual project manager might be a little bit more emotional with it. Hey, I know this is a really, thing that we didn't want to find out. It sucks. I feel for you. But the good news is, you'll have this decking, or it's done right, or etc. So you kind of get, almost like a mom and dad or a carrot and stick.
Yeah.
You get those both people explaining it, and then they feel a lot more comfortable because if this guy's saying it and this guy's saying it, well, it must be true.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. The I like that there's two voices, right? Like there's and I think that makes people feel good that there's multiple people that are taking care of them and they're ensuring that things are going right. So you have the virtual project manager. But one of the things that is extremely unique about your business is that you also sell virtually. Like
Yes.
there was 140 people at the Pitch Pro Movement gathering, and when you stepped on stage and talked about that, everyone's like, I think you 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 kind of got you had the industry, I don't know, like you changed their mindset. It was like no one had run the 4 minute mile and then someone did. Like, I promise you, it was crazy that the conversations that I was hearing around the event after that. Because let's explain your structure, and we could talk about, what you say you'll hit like 25 million or something like that, or ish, give or take, whatever it is in revenue, or if that's the goal for the year, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
How many salespeople do you have, and where do they work from?
Yeah, so our goal basically by Q2 is that each sales rep's minimum monthly target would be 200,000. So that is kind of where our expectation is, with many of them hitting 300, in a month.
Yep.
So we our goal is to be able to do 3 million a month with roughly 10 to 12 salespeople. And then we'd have like a sales manager and VP of sales that'd be
Yep.
writing a little bit as well.
Yep.
And some of our like B2B partnerships. But the what our process is we still do a physical inspection. One of the real keys to scaling that we've found is our scorecard system, and it starts even with the initial intro call. So everything is scored on that initial call. Even when you pick up the phone, if you say thank you, you get 2.5 points. If you say, how can I help you, get 2.5 points. If you say, Reimagine Roofing, this is Kody, you get 0. And there's a scorecard of how well you did that intro call. And I'm going to literally score. And then we have people score themselves. And you said it earlier. I loved that you said, being able to self-reflect is the biggest measure of success. And the beautiful thing about these scorecards is we have the sales reps who answer the phone. And that's, what we have, who answers the phone is our sales reps, because they're in office, score themselves. And then, we'll go in and score it as well. But since it's black and white, did you say thank you? You get 2.5 if you did. If you didn't, you get 0. And we have this very, very, which I rolled out to the Pitch Pro Movement on Monday, the entire scorecard, the entire process. And I'm actually in the process of rolling out my entire sales system to the Pitch Pro Movement, step by step in each lesson. So that's what we start off in the new year as a gift to the Pitch Pro Movement, and really as a thank you, to kind of the Pitch Pro Movement and to Adam and just in general, kind of letting people peek behind the curtain. So we do a very unique introductory call that is, I think, a large part of the secret sauce. And then we go out and do a physical inspection. And so that is an inspector rather than a salesperson. That's not, so that might be one of the project managers. We do have some just dedicated inspectors, but sometimes it's a project manager that will just pop in, do an initial inspection, take some photos. Then that gets kicked back to our virtual sales team that's all here in Phoenix. They put together a photo report, and then we have a very, very defined sales process that is just step by step. Do this. We have a presentation. using Engage, which is a great piece of technology, super modern. And then we sell 100% of our revenue over the phone. And it is homeowners actually love it if you help people. Some people want to be modern. Now there's some people that are 85 years old that would absolutely hate it, and we will lose some of those customers. But I'm not here to sell to 100% of the population. I'm here to the ones that want to buy roofs from a reimagined roofing process. I'm a modern roofing company. Do you want to? The modern way to roof is us, and if that's what you want, you're my customer. If you want me to come and sit in your house for 90 minutes and do a presentation and show you my shingle board, that's not me. And that's not my customer. And we identify that on the initial incoming call. And I always just think, let's say in Phoenix, there's 5 million homes. Let's say there's going to be, 100,000 re-roofs this year. If I just captured 1% of that, that's 1,000 re-roofs. That's a pretty good year. I mean, so if I get 5%, that's 5,000 re-roofs. So I imagine at least 5% of the population wants to buy the modern way. And so that's my market.
That's so awesome. It's so like, I think that broke people's mindsets. Like, what do you mean you don't go to the kitchen table? What do you mean a sales rep doesn't show up at the house and get up on the, like climb the ladder and get on, like, and take the pictures and walk down and show them, like, here's your, like, that blew people's minds. And I think that, like, it's reimagining things, right?
And
people don't buy the same way that they did before. And I'll tell you, man, I talk to contractors about this all the time too, is people hate to have sales. People hate to talk to salespeople. To have one salesperson in your house, or potentially 3 or 5 salespeople in your house, if you're really shopping, my goodness, like that's a terrible experience for most people, right? Like,
yeah. And if you think about it, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it, man. Like that.
If you think about it, if you can buy shoes without trying them on, like Zappos, if you can buy a car from Carvana without driving it, I mean, what is a roof? Like, you don't touch it, you don't play with it. It doesn't, it's a transaction that you can be educated 100% digitally. You don't need to touch anything. I mean, people are buying homes without seeing them. Yeah. You think people can't buy a roof without talking to you in person? That's crazy. Especially like when it's such, for a lot of people, it's something that they don't want to do. So imagine, like, if you have to buy an air conditioner, right? It's like, man, maybe we got to replace the air conditioner. We know we got to do it, but I really don't want to do it. And so anytime you don't want to do something, the longer you have to do it, that's the worst. So if I can make it super easy, and it's like, I got to bite the bullet for 10 minutes and have a quick conversation, just get it done, whatever. I don't want to think about it because I don't want to replace my roof. And so we've made it so easy. We've brought down the level of tension of buying the roof. And it's just like, I know I got to do it. Yep. Okay. I mean, great. Let's just get it done right now here. And we also pre-sell it on the initial process. It's like, hey, look, we can either do it the traditional way, but most of my homeowners are busy, probably like you. You sound pretty busy, right? So wouldn't you prefer to be able to just do a quick 15-minute review call so we don't get in your house, have to beat you up? You got to clean the whole house for me before I come over. So doesn't that sound more enjoyable? Oh, man, that sounds awesome. So guess what? When you come along and say, hey, man, I need to come down and sit for 60 minutes in your house, they're going to be like, ugh. Like, what do you mean? I can just buy from Reimagine. That seems way easier. And it's just how consumers want to do business now. We sell a lot of roofs through text message. Would you rather somebody call you, rather somebody text you? Yeah. Again, it's about being self-aware, like you said. And I think about it all the time. When I went to buy an air conditioner, like I really self-reflect on how it made me feel. I was like, oh, I don't want to have to call these guys. I just want to, I just want to be able to get my air conditioner replaced. Like, whatever, I'm going to get a new train and it's going to be 12,000. Like, and then it's like, I just want to know, are you going to do a good job? And I can do it over the phone. I don't need you to come in and, sit with my crazy dogs. I got a Great Dane that goes wild whenever I have someone over, and it's like, we'll just do this over the phone. And I called 4 or 5 HVAC companies and only one was willing to have a conversation over the phone with me. And so that's why I decided to go with that HVAC company. They made it as easy as possible. Yeah. Why is Amazon successful? Is it the best customer service? I mean, it's just easy, right? You click a button, it shows up. People want to buy stuff easily. And if you can be the easiest person, you'll capture a large percentage. A lot of our homeowners are Airbnb people. They're not even in the state. They're in Nebraska because it's summertime in Phoenix. They're snowbirds, et cetera. They're investment properties. And it's just, we're the only person willing to meet them where they want to be met. And they just buy. It's just like, this was so easy. This is awesome.
So important, though, that you said not everyone is your customer.
Nope. Yeah.
Not everyone
Correct.
is your customer. Another big thing to point out is that you said, if you capture 1% of the market, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's true. I speak at ICO profit power events around the country. And like when we did the one in Minneapolis, because I live in the Minneapolis Twin Cities area, I know a lot of the contractors. And I looked around the room and I just kind of added up my assumptions on their revenue. And this was a one afternoon event. Not all of the ICO Roof Pros were in the building. None of the OC, preferred contractors were there. None of the GAF master elites were there. And I added, like, just looking around the room, I'm like, yeah, there's probably a 250 million a year easy just in the people that are sitting here.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, it's so crazy to, so that when you actually look at the total addressable market, your serviceable addressable market, and just getting a small piece of that's 8 figures. Like, like,
yes. Yeah.
And so if your customer is the person who wants to buy virtually and you serve them on a high level, then you get the 1% that wants to buy virtually. And and you have a successful business. So I always like to end with, like, what's your greatest insight into how you found success, and what advice would you give someone? Like, what's the greatest insight that you could share with our audience that's helped you find success with your roofing business?
It comes from Alex Ramosi, and it's building a business is hard. This is what hard feels like. And I tell my team that a lot. Like some of my leaders will be like, man, I feel like we're going in 1,000 directions, and this is crazy. We're one of the fastest growing roofing companies. Like, I don't know if we can do this. And I just say, this is what hard feels like. And they're like, you're right. Okay. All right. Awesome. Let's go. Our book of the month this month is Chop Wood, Carry Water. And it's a very simple concept that, the journey is the journey, not the destination. The Chop Wood, Carry Water book, it tells the story about this guy that's trying to talk to this Zen master and say, what's the secret to Zen? What's the secret to enlightenment? And all he says is chop wood, carry water. And every day he gets up and he chops wood and he carries water. And that's just what he does every day. And he finds so much joy in it. And every day goes by, this guy starts chopping wood and carrying water. And through the book, he finds, the enlightenment is through in being able to enjoy the grind, being able to enjoy, the journey, and just being able, and I liken it back to fitness. Like, I love going to the gym. The first year you start going to the gym, or the first year you start getting fit, like it's brutal. But then eventually you get over that cusp, and it's like, man, if I don't go to the gym today, I'm going crazy. Like, it's almost gym time. Let's go. I got to get all my stuff done. And so now you embrace that, you love that. And that if you can love the grind, if you can love the journey, everything else becomes easy.
That's awesome, man. Kody, thanks for your time, man. This has been another episode of the Roofing Success Podcast.